red zone. When healthy, he's given you great production. Last year, he missed 5 games at the end of the year. He had 4 games where he had under 5 targets. But listen, they did a lot, man. They bolstered that O-line. They really added value to the defense to create more opportunity for the offense. I think he's going to be great in 2022. I just think they got a lot of weapons, which is why I had to keep him outside my top 5. So, yeah. Who do you have?
Number 6?
Yep.
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, okay?
Yep.
I got Kyle way... He's tricky.
He is. You don't know what it's going to be like with the new quarterback. But then I'm thinking, they don't have Gage anymore.
Right.
They don't have Ridley.
Right.
So it's like...
Here's their wide receivers. They got Zacchaeus, who is unproven, but he's shown flashes. They traded for Brian Edwards, who is unproven, former 3rd-round pick in 2020. And they have that rookie... Fuck, am I drawing? I got it right here. Hold on. Drake. Drake London.
USC.
Yeah. So, it's honestly, their 2 best offensive weapons, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Because Cordell's playing running back. Unless I'm playing running back.
Yeah.
I had Kyle Pitts in my top 5. I'll talk about that. Darren Waller for me was at number 5. For all the right reasons that you talked about. I think there's a lot of people out there that expect him to still get double-digit targets. And in spurts, he will give you those double-digit targets, especially when things are schemed around Devontae Adams. But you can't expect, like week 1 against Baltimore last week, he had 19 targets in 1 game, right? If you look at his season stats in 21, take away the fact that he missed 5 games, he averaged 8 targets per game. That probably drops to 6 this year. He's still probably going to produce for you, especially in the red zone, but for all the right reasons that you said earlier, again, he's still a top 5 tight end, so if you're getting him, I would say between the rounds of, 5th round value to 8th round value, I think that's his range. That's probably a good, fair assessment. But he's still going to be good. He's still going to be breaking out. He's like a wide receiver 2, basically, right? And there's some great wide receiver 2s, like Adam Thielen, great wide receiver 2, right? Every week starter that you could put in and not worry about. Keenan Allen could be a good wide receiver 2. Mike Williams could be a good wide receiver 2. So I would value like Darren Waller as like a good wide receiver 2. So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, that's really good. 7th round would be a steal at that point. So 5 for you?
Number 5 for me is Gesicki from Miami.
Didn't have him in my top 10.
I think he's going to be Waddle and Hill are going to get the attention, but Gesicki, I always liked him as a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, again,
I had him last year for both fantasy teams, and he's actually helped me out.
2 years ago, he was like way more consistent with Fitzy than Tua. I'm going to pull up his stats right now because I actually don't know much about him. But again, I look at that team like that's a run-heavy offense. Play a lot of 12-man personnel because that's what Kyle Shanahan does over there in San Fran. Mike Gesicki. There's a lot of people that love Mike Gesicki. I'm not one of them. Last year, top 10. So last year he ranked number 9. He had 73 receptions, 111 targets, 780 yards. Only 2 touchdowns, though. His game log, again, this is PPR format. 4.2 against New England, 9.1 against Tennessee, 5.2 against New Orleans. Against the shitty Jets, 9.3. Again, but here, and 11.6 against the Giants. That's fantasy playoff football right there, because playoffs usually start week 13 and on. Didn't play in week 14, apparently. Or they must have been on a bye. But so if you think about that, only 1 game in the last 5 games where you really count on him did he give you double-digit points. But his targets were there. Like, if you look at his targets, week 13, 11. Week 15, 8. Week 16, 4. Week 17, 7. And then 3 against the Pats in week 18. But, yeah, I mean, there's only I can tell you this. With those numbers that I just told you, which totally devalues him, he was still number 9. in fantasy. So, only way to grow is up. And he's playing on a franchise tender, so he's in improve-it mode. All right, man. So that was number what for you? 4? 5? Who's number 4?
Dalton Schultz.
Okay, right on.
I already told you my top 3 before the show, so I can't.
Yeah.
I can't freaking.
Which we were close on. You have one in there that I just don't have in there.
Yeah. You had one of my top 3. You had way lower.
Yeah. Kyle Pitts for me is at 4. He, like I told you before, best offensive weapon. They bring in Bryan Edwards, Drake London, Zacchaeus. But in reality, it's going to be Kyle Pitts' show. The one good thing about Mariota versus Matt Ryan, when you think about extending plays, Mariota should be able to do that a lot better than Matt Ryan. So it could open up like a Kyle Pitts, who essentially is a wide receiver in a pretty much a wide receiver's body. He has an elite ceiling. Kyle Pitts could be the number 1 fantasy tight end this year. His ceiling is just off the chart. Number 3 for me is Dalton Schultz. Dak loves him. Blake Jarwin's an afterthought. 3rd best tight end in fantasy last year. He's going to maintain that consistency. He's going to be, here's my bold prediction, and it's not even bold, but he's going to be 2nd in targets behind CeeDee Lamb. He's going to probably have 6-7 targets per game. He's someone that easily, if he's there in the 5th round, I'm probably going to jump on that dick like a whore in a outhouse. But his TD production probably going to stay the same, closer to 8. Finished top 5 among tight ends in snaps, routes, receptions in the last 2 seasons. He's 26, still young. If he can stay healthy, Dak loves him. So Dalton Schultz for me at number 3. Who you got?
Number 3, George Kittle.
For now, does it change if Trey Lance is the quarterback?
Yeah, I'm going on Garoppolo because
me too.
I think Garoppolo's healthy. I'm not saying nothing about the Niners, but I don't think they trust Lance yet.
Agreed. And I guess you can first of all,
it's kind of bad because you drafted him and what you gave up.
Oh, I agree. Especially when
you
rumor has
Mac Jones.
That was the rumor that they loved Mac Jones, but they fell in love with Trey Lance. They looked at Trey and thought he was the next Patrick, and I don't see it. Listen, I could be wrong. I mean, I only win half my fantasy football championships a year, but then again, I have a pretty good shot because I'm in 15, on average. So when you're in that many, you're bound to win one. You know what I'm saying? That's that. He has the boom upside for sure. The problem with Kittle, he's getting older. I don't know how much more his body can take, and he's got to maintain being healthy and a quarterback. If it's Jimmy, it's great. If it's Trey, I got to see Trey. I got to see more tape on him before I can make that assumption. But so that brings us into number 2.
Number 2 is gonna be
I think we're already on the same page.
Diehard fan is gonna hurt me, but I have Kelsey number 2.
Totally agree. I think he's going to be the primary target, which means he's probably going to see more coverage because they don't have Hill. They don't have that burner. Juju's got chronic knee injury, so how trustworthy can he be? MVS has never been proven to be more than a number 3. I never thought he was great in Green Bay. Again, Rodgers. I think this. People will, for example, people were drafting Travis Kelce in the 1st round last year. I saw him go as high as 5th overall. Uh-huh. I saw him go as low as 10th overall. Very rarely, even in all the mock drafts that I did he ever fall to the 2nd round. And if he did, someone pulled him at pick 12 overall or 14 overall.
How many of your drafts did Mahomes go in the 1st round?
Not as often as Kelce, but he did go in the top 2 rounds.
That 1st round was they just went Mahomes. I'm like, really?
Dude, and so that it's the same thing for tight ends, man. People, it's really about what you value. Mahomes' production and what you get in the 1st round, you can get out of a quarterback in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th round. I had Jalen Hurts last year, and he gave me similar production weeks 1 through 9 than what people were getting with Patrick Mahomes. And I didn't have to overpay. When you waste a 1st round pick on that kind of a position, you lose, like, all of a sudden, I've seen teams be so hurting for wide receiver 2s or running back 1s because running backs would get hurt and their waiver claims didn't go through and shit. And it's all because, like, you overvalued Travis Kelce, you overvalued Patrick Mahomes. You just took them in the first round because it was a popular name, it was a popular thing to do. Like, I had a guy last year in one of our leagues. He took Kyler Murray and I think he had Patrick Mahomes. So he had 2 top quarterbacks, and he took both super early. And in my opinion, he wasted 2 premium round picks where he didn't win the championship because he didn't have depth at running back. He didn't have depth at wide receiver. He had a quarterback that he could never play because he had to play the other quarterback. That's how I'm valuing Travis Kelce. And the other thing, too, he turns 33 this year. He's still going to be very relevant, especially in the red zone, and he's definitely going to be a top tight end. But, like, I'm not taking him unless he falls to late round 3, early round 4. I just can't find myself giving up a wide receiver 1, a running back 1, for a tight end 1. Because you're looking for those flash points. I think running backs are more prone to give you more flash points than a tight end. And people, like, again, we talked about it earlier. You're looking at Travis Kelce and you're saying, give me his 2020 production. So what had happened? In 2020, he had crazy numbers. He had, like, wide receiver 1 numbers. He was, like, the best tight end in football, and he was, like, the top 3 wide receiver if you had to classify him as that. So what happened in 2021? People started reaching for him in the first round. Because you expect that, when we were talking about Cooper Kupp, you're expecting that production to carry over and to follow suit, and it's not realistic to expect. Cooper Kupp will fall off this year. Travis Kelce fell off last year compared to his 2020 season. Like, it's not realistic to come out and think that this guy is immediately going to turn back to 2020 Travis Kelce. Meanwhile, he's 2 years older. He's going to see more coverage than he ever has. And everybody knows that Patrick Mahomes is throwing for him. So, again, he's definitely number 2. He's definitely super talented. I don't want to, like, change any of that. But limit your expectations for tight end specifically. Lastly, so number 1, and I'm going to say that we're both on this page. So we're both obviously on point with Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
Did you know Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst were drafted in the same draft? Or not Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst from Baltimore. Same draft.
They are the same draft.
And they thought Hayden Hurst would turn out to be better than Mark Andrews, and Mark Andrews turned out to be better than Hayden. So Mark Andrews, he's going to have all the target shares because Rashad Bateman is going to be good, but he's not going to be taking away all of Hollywood's production.
Where's Hurst now? Bengals?
Yeah, he's their tight end. So, again, I don't think he'll be a sleeper. Like, I've seen Drew Sample be a sleeper for Cincy, but I think he's more of probably the run blocking tight end. But that's for another day, another time. Rashad Bateman not ready to take all away Hollywood's production. He's definitely going to be your top tight end. He's going to have the top targets for sure. One thing I like about Mark Andrews is even without Lamar, he's still going to be the most valuable tight end. We saw it last year with Brett Hundley. He didn't skip a beat. So all the guy does is produce. Back to in the back half of the year, starting week 11, 6 out of 8 games he saw more than 10 targets. So that's better than some wide receivers. Depending on your strategy, I would say this: he's probably going off the board in round 2 or 3. Definitely round 2.
There'll be some people who take him 1.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't. It's again, if you're in a 10-team snake league or even a 12-man snake league, like, he's someone that's probably going 12, 13 on that route.
Right.
But I guess, like, if I look at it and say, well, I can get Stephon Diggs at 12 and then wrap it around and get Mark Andrews, I'd probably be okay with that, right? Like, if that's a 12-teamer. But I definitely think Mark Andrews. So you have Mark Andrews at 1 as well? Yeah. All the right reasons?
Yeah.
I get it, dude. I get it. Who's your boom? Like looking at this list, out of all the positions we've done, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, who's that one bust that you think could easily fall out? If you had to look at it now, would you change anything